Technical section. What is climate change? Human evolution under a stable climate. Our atmosphere has just the right balance of things in it to keep us in a narrow temperature band, not too hot and not too cold. Throughout human evolution, the concentration of gases in our planet's atmosphere has remained relatively stable, shaping who we are as a species. Humans eventually started spreading to almost every continent and inventing all kinds of things. Over time, we shifted from consuming renewable resources, like plants and animals for clothing and shelter, to consuming non-renewable materials like rocks, metals, and finally oil. The discovery of oil and other fossil fuels was useful in so many ways. We could fuel our vehicles and power electrical plants, lighting our homes, and saving the whales. Around World War II, we discovered that these fossil fuels could also be turned into a variety of plastics with all kinds of applications. From clothing to food containers to making our vehicles lighter weight, the possibilities were endless. The use of these non-renewable resources was okay initially, but now, combined with the unsustainable use of renewable resources, we are experiencing the cascading environmental effects of this reliance on and mass use of materials that the Earth cannot replenish in our lifetimes. An increase in greenhouse gases. Climate change is a massive environmental consequence of modern human activity. Climate change or global warming is caused by humans releasing greenhouse gases, or GHGs, in enough quantities to shift the chemistry of our atmosphere, leading to increased radiative warming on Earth. Greenhouse gases are what helps our atmosphere make Earth warm enough for us to live. We need them. The sun shines on Earth, heating up the planet's surface. That heat then gets released back out into space, where the greenhouse gases at a molecular level capture just enough of that energy to keep us warm overnight. But now we've emitted a lot of greenhouse gases, and our atmosphere is trapping more heat than it has in a very long time. There has been a 33% plus increase in atmospheric CO2 since the 1800s. The last time Earth's atmosphere had this concentration of carbon dioxide, 300 to 400 ppm, was 3 to 4 million years ago in the mid-Pliocene, when animals looked like this image. Imagine a patient comes to you with 33% more fat in their body than they did last time you saw them. You'd be concerned, right? The most commonly produced GHG is carbon dioxide. The second most common is methane. Greenhouse gas emissions come from many different sectors, including electricity generation, transportation, industry, agriculture, etc. Fossil fuels, which are non-renewable energy sources formed from the remains of ancient plants and animals over millions of years, in particular, have been a major source of greenhouse gases. These fuels, including coal, oil, and natural gas, are burned to produce heat, electricity, and fuel for transportation, but their combustion releases harmful greenhouse gases, which ultimately trap heat in our atmosphere. Healthcare emits some unique GHGs. Like other industries, healthcare services emit carbon dioxide and methane and other common GHGs from things like building construction, energy production, and supply manufacturing. However, clinical care emits some unique GHGs, including anesthetic gases, desflurane in particular, nitrous oxide, and the propellant used in metered dose inhalers. According to the Greenhouse Gas Reporting Protocol, there are 3 primary scopes of greenhouse gas emissions for organizations to consider: Scopes 1, 2, and 3. Scope 1 covers direct emissions from an organization, Scope 2 covers indirect emissions, and Scope 3 encompasses emissions that are not directly or indirectly produced by the organization itself, but by those organizations that is responsible for up and down its value chain. The visual here shows healthcare-related sources of greenhouse gas emissions under the 3 general scopes. Carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, hydrofluorocarbons, perfluorocarbons, nitrogen trifluoride, and sulfur hexafluoride are the most common emissions in the healthcare sector. Urgent need to act now. In addition to emitting a lot of greenhouse gases, humans have done it over a very short period of time, only about 100 to 150 years, which is tiny on a geologic timescale, meaning that this is a mass disruption to our atmosphere, which will take time to normalize. But it will only begin to normalize when we stop emitting greenhouse gases. Humans have known about the greenhouse gas effect of various gases since the 1800s. The 1980s were a critical time period when climate scientists attempted to warn politicians, etc., to regulate and reduce GHGs. Unfortunately, corporate interests not only lobbied heavily, but also marketed to the general public, obfuscating the science and delaying climate action, leading to climate denialism. One approach championed by British Petroleum, or BP, was the individual carbon footprint, trying to shunt responsibility for GHG emissions from polluting corporations to individual citizens. While most people are now concerned about climate change, the new strategy by polluting corporations is to claim that it is too late to act and hope that people are too distracted or depressed to demand change. And with the increase in climate-related events like horrible fires and related smoke, coral bleaching and ocean die-offs, extreme storms and flooding, etc., it is easy to feel overwhelmed. The UN has said that we have a narrow window to act to avoid the most devastating consequences of climate change. But even if we overshoot this window, there is still time to do something to save what we can. And every human system must change, including healthcare. We must both reduce, eliminate, or invert our GHG emissions and adapt to the disrupted climate.